Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
In times of universal deceit, telling the truth is indeed a revolutionary act. Welcome to the times of universal deceit, where you have a front row seat as the powers that be scramble to stifle dissent, control your mind, and change your worldview. And how do they do this? Through state-controlled media propaganda outlets. And how do we know they do this? Stay tuned. First, no matter what you may think about Donald Trump in specific or politics in general, there is in our land an epidemic of fake news. And the grand irony of the awareness of this fact is that some of the organizations that warn us about fake news are themselves the prolific propagators of fraudulent articles, nefarious practices, underhanded tactics, sneaky deceptions, deceptive programming, and even staged tragedies, all aimed at cramming their agenda down the throats of America and the world. Now, there's a lot of fake news organizations out there, but the current reigning king of state-controlled fake news media is CNN. Here are just a few undeniable examples that every person on this planet needs to see. CNN has quickly come to be known as the counterfeit news network, the communist news network, and most glaring of all, the Clinton news network. They themselves admit that they had been the biggest ones promoting the Clinton campaign.
She's on her way to deciding.
We'll see.
About deciding.
We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaign. We couldn't help her any more than we have.
I know.
You know what I mean? She's got just a free ride so far from the media. We're the biggest ones promoting her campaign.
We also know that CNN stages actors and even makes up stories in order to push agendas like the furtherance of wars in other countries. Remember Charles Jaco? He was the CNN reporter famous for covering the 1990 Persian Gulf War. Here, he and fellow correspondent Carl Rochelle were caught staging a theatrical display, a poorly executed display complete with horrible acting, in which they tried to deceive their audience into thinking that they were in immediate danger as the CNN crew played siren and missile sound effects while the stage actors stood in front of a blue screen.
My apologies for that.
He's putting on a gas mask. There hasn't been any gas dropped here that we could tell.
You smell anything?
No. You may smell some of the fumes from a missile exhaust going off. The missiles use a rocket, a cordite, some sort of burning. We just heard a little thump just then. But
I have to apologize for that. I caught a whiff of something and felt momentarily dizzy. You're more experienced in military affairs than I am, but it might have been a little gas from the rocket exhaust. There apparently wasn't anything. A lot of people have their respirators on just in case.
Here, CNN tries to deceive us into believing that this reporter just randomly chose a guy off the streets of Chicago to interview. Turns out, the guy is John Gurkovic, a CNN cameraman, and somebody forgot to let Don Lemon know that this was a staged event in order to promote the idea that the election of Donald Trump wasn't fair and that Hillary should be the president-elect.
I believe in you, Hillary. I've been to Rwanda. I've been to your hospital in Rwanda. I've seen all the good you've done. I believe in you. Women need you. Minorities need you. I need you. Chicago needs you. We all need you. This country needs you to stand up and walk into the Supreme Court and say one vote equals one vote. What's wrong with that? What's the debate?
I definitely feel his passion. There's other people out here who feel the same way.
At
one point, you had people who were blocking his road. Chicago police moved in. Everything has remained peaceful. And like I said, Don, as you see, thousands of people still continue to gather. But like you heard this man, very passionate about the idea. He doesn't want Hillary to stop.
Yeah, Ryan, you know I used to live there, and I know that guy. That's John Gurkovic. He actually went to Africa with me as a cameraman. Don't! But anyway, that's another story. All right, thank you, John. Thank you very much, Ryan.
CNN also routinely cuts mics when the truth is being told. And this is not an isolated incident. Check this out.
You know, some Republicans out there have been saying that Ron Paul would be very dangerous for this country because he wants to bring troops like you back from your post from all over the world.
Well, I think it would be even more dangerous to start nitpicking wars with other countries. Someone like Iran, Israel is more than capable.
All right, we just lost our connection, unfortunately. Wait, Dennis, stand by. If you can hear me, we're going to get back to you. I want to go to Kenny Crowley.
Well, on the character issue, the public, 2/3 or more of the public knows that Hillary Clinton's a liar. She can't be trusted. And now the two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. The fact through WikiLeaks that she says one thing and...
Oh, no. All right, let's see if we can get Congressman Collins back. Obviously, we just lost his satellite feed. That sucks.
And lest you think that CNN's mic cutting is random and isolated, here's an example where they even cut the mic of their own reporter, Breonna Keeler, when she began to speak the plain truth about Hillary Clinton's hypocrisy.
Remember, Hillary Clinton has some vulnerabilities herself, even as she calls for criminal justice reform because of her support in the 1990s for anti-crime legislation that ultimately helped contribute to this era of mass incarceration that she now speaks out again.
We just lost Breonna Keeler, who was in Springfield, Illinois, where Hillary Clinton just spoke.
Abruptly ending interviews when things are said that don't line up with their propagandized narrative is something that the Communist News Network is quite proficient at. They have great disdain for and are highly allergic to the truth. Period.
David Duke and people like that, they come out from under the rocks all the time around this time this year. It got nothing to do with Donald Trump. We're all Americans. I think we need to stop with all the racist stuff and the race baiting. Like me and my friend right here, we just met today, we was talking. We got to stop with the racist stuff and this, that. We all Americans, man. And nobody paying David Duke no mind.
Clearly, let me just be clear here. Obviously, the majority of Donald Trump supporters are not African American. I don't know how many African Americans were in that building, but that is one person that we have chosen to cut that sound from.
And ending interviews when truth makes an appearance is not just a CNN, MSNBC liberal media thing. Watch Fox News shut down this interview when Brunel Donald Shea tears into and exposes Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama as the nation-dividing racists they truly are. And it's important to note that the Fox interviewer brings the whole thing to an end right after Brunel talks about the WikiLeaks revelations of spirit cooking and child sex trafficking in connection with the Clinton campaign.
What people have to do is stop allowing the president and Hillary Clinton to divide this nation. We want to heal. We want the racists to heal. Americans don't want racial division. We don't want citizens against police. We want our nation to go forward in strength. We are stronger together. Hillary Clinton is right. We are stronger together, but we are stronger without Hillary Clinton. We can never be together as long as we have a divider-in-chief and our president, Barack Obama, supporting this woman who's got the FBI crawling all over her. I think that's more important than trying to link Donald Trump to the KKK. How about she's under federal investigation? How about this spirit cooking we're watching in the WikiLeaks? How about this child sex trafficking rings we're reading about in WikiLeaks? That's far more important as to Mrs. Clinton than the KKK.
Theories is not what we need in the last 48
hours. She's a closet racist.
We're going to have so much time for both of you over the next week.
She's out the closet now.
Okay, Brunel, we got to go. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Here, two CNN reporters, Nancy Grace and Ashley Banfield, hold a split-screen supposed satellite interview in the same parking lot. Alternative media journalists quickly pointed out that the same building stood in the background as the same cars zoomed behind the reporters. Even though they were trying for some reason to get their audience to believe otherwise, both Grace and Banfield were only sitting about 30 feet away from one another. So CNN lies to you and feeds you fake and staged news even when they don't have to. CNN has proven time and time again by their actions, their consistent actions, that if they don't have real news, they'll just make something up on the fly, embellish, or withhold vital truths of a story. And guys, these are just the tip of the iceberg. The examples are many. The false stories from state-controlled publishing companies and networks goes on and on. The internet is replete with examples of fake news coming out of these propaganda machines as they churn out more and more deceptive stories. So when Donald Trump treats CNN and its reporters like this,
since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically,
she's asking a question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
All you have to do is think back to the evidence of CNN's despicable conduct as presented in this video to realize that Trump's statement to CNN's Jim Acosta is absolutely true. And Acosta's claim that Trump's statement is inappropriate is absolutely false. If you care about honest reporting and respectable journalism, and you want to expose the fakery that is falsely called news by the duped and unthinking masses, share this video with everybody you know.